Virtual trading is quickly becoming a billion-dollar business. But with fears of cheating in gamer sweatshops in third world countries, is it right to pay someone to play for you? Today, we have the experts and addicts weighing in. Let's get into it, folks. I'm lazy. If you could just play for me, it'd be great. It's The Loop. Joining us via satellite tonight from San Francisco, PC Gamer Magazine editor-in-chief Greg Viderman, whose magazine has actually banned ads from gold farmers, and from Chicago, Julian DeBell, author of Play Money, or How I Quit My Day Job and Struck It Rich in Virtual Loot Farming. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us in The Loop. Over 60% of our audience says, hey, this apparently isn't a big deal. It's so commonplace now with cheating. I mean gold farming and power leveling, which clearly isn't cheating. Some games even endorse it. So, Greg, I got to ask, what is the big deal with this? Why are some people outraged?
Well, a lot of people, especially in games like World of Warcraft, are outraged because it's against the terms of service. Blizzard doesn't let you do this. They're telling you expressly when you sign up to play the game that you're not supposed to. And so people have the expectation that they're going to be able to go into the game, play it, and not have to compete with people whose full-time job it is to farm resources and camp for good items.
And yet people do this, and the services that, or the people that are offering these services make no qualms about it. It's easy to sign up online. I mean, Julian, I got to imagine that if Blizzard thought people were cheating this bad and if it were an egregious violation of their terms, they might go after them a little harder, right?
Yeah, no, they don't. And the whole idea that it's cheating is bogus, basically. The idea that you're in an MMO competing against all these other players is the real mistake that people are making. There are so many ways to play the game. It's really, you got to think of it more as like a giant crossword puzzle or a scavenger hunt, right? You're doing that crossword puzzle, and there's a little number you can call to get the clues, to pay extra money. If you do that, that's not going to hurt somebody else's attempt to play the game. It's just
except Julian,
different strokes for different folks.
Except that you're actually cheating because the rules of the game say you're not allowed to do that, and so the people that are playing the game should have the reasonable expectation that they're not going to be griefed. They're not going to have to put up with people like you camping, the gold sites. You can rationalize it any way you want, but it is cheating.
Greg,
Blizzard says in the rules.
You're
yes or no?
All kinds of things. Blizzard can put in a rule saying, you have to be a Pastafarian, to play this game. That doesn't mean everybody has to obey it. The fact
actually you're wrong. Actually you're wrong.
Now, wait a minute. Julian, you did say it's kind of like calling a tip line or getting help with a Sudoku puzzle or something of that nature. However, though, typically and throughout history, these tip lines have been for single-player type things. They might offer you strategy, but they never offered you a leg up on another character in a player versus player environment. Isn't it a little unfair if someone can barely scrape together the $15 a month to play World of Warcraft that another guy who can throw $30 at some Chinese farming sweatshop can be better than him at a game? Isn't that a little bit unfair?
No, I'm simply saying the idea that these are competitive games is absurd. They're collaborative games. They're cooperative games.
They're collaborative games to you. Julian, they're collaborative games to you because you're rationalizing. The fact of the matter is, it's against the terms. It's against the terms of service. It's gotten so bad, Julian. It's gotten so bad that the United States Congress is looking at taxing in-game virtual transactions.
Well, I don't think I don't think they're doing that because they think it's gotten bad. I think they do it because they sense that this is a burgeoning industry, and they can probably use this to fund more business.
But my point is,
life is a virtual world that
they allow it. They allow it, and they are incentivized. They are incentivized to balance the world in such a way that their players can enjoy. That players on both sides can enjoy the experience. In WoW, it is expressly forgiven. I'm sorry, it's expressly forbidden, and therefore the players can't assume that it's going to be allowed.
All right, Blizzard does say it is forbidden. They have slapped a couple wrists, but it's still happening. Yeah. Here's my issue with it. A friend of mine paid to be power leveled, right? He wanted to play with all of his buddies. He got to level 30. I said this was outright lazy, but that's about the extent of my criticism. Others said it should be a crime, that these services should be illegal because half the time they're run in sweatshop-like conditions overseas. And if you want to support a sweatshop, you go buy some Martha Stewart sneakers or towels, but it shouldn't happen in World of Warcraft. Greg, do you think these services should be illegal?
I'm not sure. That's really not for me to say. Eventually, somebody will maybe bring a class action lawsuit against a game publisher, and we'll see if it ends up being legal or illegal. I certainly know that the conditions over in China where a lot of this stuff is happening, to our standards are not very good. They're sort of working in squalor. But for them, to be fair, a lot of those people are making more money doing that than they possibly could doing anything else. So it's actually raising the bar, the economic
Julian,
bar for some of them.
Some people online on certain gaming blogs and whatnot, they paint a picture of these sweatshop-like conditions, a guy in a black mask with a whip, cracking it around as people, kill wolves in the forest of World of Warcraft. But you've actually worked in one. What are the conditions like, and should they be banned because they're so deplorable?
No. I've been to several, and these guys are gamers. They're not like, conscript armies of, peasants who are being, forced to whack orcs all day long. They're actually gamers, who know how these games work and improvise a lot. The conditions are, look, 12-hour days, 1 day off a month, $4 a day.
It's starting to sound a lot like cable television.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, it does sound great.
It's awful. Yeah. It's hard, but if you have a problem with this, you don't have a problem with gold farms. You have a problem with the global capitalist order.
No, Julian, what I've got a problem with, buddy, what I've got a problem with is the fact of the matter is that there are 6 million players in World of Warcraft right now. Most of them don't want this, regardless of what the poll just said on G4, and they're conceivably they're going to be taxed. Because the money in WoW, the gold in WoW, which should not have a monetary value in the real world, does because of people like you.
All right.
They're going to be taxed eventually because of you,
It does, but I have to... Greg, how dare you discredit our G4 poll? I want to thank Greg and Julian for keeping us in the loop, though. I mean, obviously, people are split on this. And now I got to say, I think it's inevitable that companies, they're going to start to profit on impatient desires for virtual wealth or ultimate in-game power, but it's the potential for exploitation that worries me the most. And I'm not talking about workers in China. What's to stop a developer from creating an item or an enhancement that I really need to spend 400 WoW bucks on to actually continue playing the game? Think about that for a minute before you reach for your EverQuest themed MasterCard and further finance another sweatshop.